well, so.
She says thanks.
So are we good now, Kelly, or?
So on there, yeah, I believe we have full quorum, Kelly. We're good to go, Mr. Chair, if you want to start the meeting.
Okay, welcome everyone. My name's Kevin Nicklin. I'm the chair of the Economic Expansion Committee. We're looking forward to our discussions today from the Department of Agriculture and Fisheries. I'd like to have an approval of the agenda.
I so move, David.
I'll second. Paul.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary by nay. Okay, we're moving. Any conflicts of interest to disclose? I had a lot of shaking heads no, so I'm going to take that as a no. Okay, let's start off with the roundtable introductions. As I started off, with myself, my name's Kevin Nicklin. I'm the mayor of the municipality of Grand Lake and the chair of this committee. So I've got John, I've got you on my screen next.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm John Smith. I'm the CEO of the Capital Region Service Commission, and welcome to our guest here today. Thank you.
Okay, Susan, I got you on next there.
Okay, I'm Susan Jonah, and I am the Deputy Mayor of Hanwell.
All right, Kim.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kim Lipset, and I'm with the New Brunswick Agriculture Alliance.
All right, Lonnie.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lonnie Forbes, the General Manager of the Planning and Development Branch at the Capital Region Service Commission.
Greg.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Greg Erickson, representing the city of Fredericton.
Okay, Sheridan.
Hi, I'm Sheridan Mawhinney. I'm the Deputy Mayor in the town of Oromocto.
Amanda.
Hi, my name's Amanda Foy. I'm the Economic Coordinator for the Capital Region Service Commission. I've been working closely with the Economic Expansion Committee as well as the Infrastructure Committee.
Great. David.
David Duplessis, Mayor of Central York, and with me I have our Assistant CAO.
Karina Valentin.
Great, thank you. Don. I think you're muted. Don.
You're on mute, Don.
Well, it looks like you're on my screen. You're still muted anyway. We're gonna skip Don for right now until we get our technical problem solved. Paul.
Yeah, certainly. Paul Meunier, Ward 2 Councillor for Arcadia, and I chair the Economic Expansion Committee for Arcadia, and I'm on this committee as well.
Great. Irina.
Good afternoon, everyone. Irene Roussel. I'm the Business Growth Officer for the Central Region, representing the Department of Agriculture. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here.
Wonderful. David Hayward.
David Hayward, Mayor of Sunbury York South.
I'm Victoria.
Hi, I'm Victoria Green from Nashwauk Rural Community.
Raghav.
Hello, I am Raghav Parikh. I am a planner with the Capital Region Service Commission.
Ronald.
Hi, I'm with the Department of Local Government. I'm the Rural District Manager for the Capital Region.
Okay. And I got MP.
Hi, I'm Melinda Parks. I'm the Senior Planner with the Capital Region Service Commission.
Thanks, Melinda. Monique. Bethany.
Hi, Bethany Ryan with the Nashwauk Rural Community.
Susan.
Hi, I'm Susan Jerome. I'm a counselor for Ward 2 for Sunbury York South Rural Community.
Okay, Danielle.
Danielle Connell from Lower Cambridge. I'm a commercial livestock farmer and I volunteer in the Arcadia community to help support farmers.
Okay, did I miss anyone?
Mr. Chair, I don't know if Monique get back to her seat or not there. She may just he stepped away there for a moment, but that's okay. We can continue, sir.
Okay. Without further ado, I guess we will start our presentation, Irina.
Okay, give me a moment here to try the share screen option.
Okay.
So we can see the presentation.
There we go. That looks
Yeah,
good.
looks good, Irina.
Okay, so thank you again for this opportunity. Irina Roussel, as I mentioned, from the Department of Agriculture. Just a bit about our agency. The department delivers targeted programs and services and provides strategic direction in support of economic development opportunities related to sustainable primary and value-added agriculture, aquaculture, and the fisheries sectors. For the purpose of this presentation, I'm going to focus on the agricultural division. Just because, I'm with the business group, and that's what I've prepared for delivery for today. So if you have any aquaculture or fisheries questions, I can take those and then find the most appropriate person to respond to those questions that may come up later. So with our division, of course, with our department, we're a government agency, as you know. We're located throughout various places in the province. So we have about 11 different locations where we have offices. And there's delivery of services, whether that's on the technical side, on the business development side, on the marketing and development side, or research and development. We are an integrated group in that we deliver services to the client. With the business group, we're the intake for client inquiries, and then we fill those out to our technical officers, whether that's the crop development or livestock officers or our specialists. Also, we have a marketing and trade team where we deal with any export inquiries. And then for funding, between our business group and the financial officers, we deal with financial inquiries. The top priorities for the department, of course, is the local food and beverage strategy, which was launched to support local companies, whether that's agricultural producers, businesses, agri-processors, or beverage processors, and to help to grow the food basket. So there's, support services and funding that's applied towards different entrepreneurs. The second priority is addressing some of the labor concerns. Developing the pipeline of people to work in the agricultural sector is of great importance to our department, to the provincial government. So we conduct a lot of activities as it relates to agri in the classroom to give various students the exposure to agricultural focused tools and lessons. So we work very closely with the Ag Alliance on that. We also work with NBCC to deliver some specific programming as well. Another key priority is increasing local procurement. And to support local producers, GNB recently launched the NB First procurement strategy, which provides an opportunity to source locally grown products. We've had quite a bit of success with that. A good example is Dunsters, who won $1 million contract in 2023. And basically, regarding local procurement, that's open to all businesses to send in their bids when those bids open through the N1 system. Another key priority is, of course, I mentioned supporting the New Brunswick food basket. So whether you're a small producer or a medium producer, a large scale producer selling at the farmer's market, independent grocers. So for our region, we can think of the local co-op or Pete's Meat Market, or there are many independent grocers in the area, and of course retailers. So whether that's Sobeys, Costco, Loblaws, etc., we provide support for that, as well as supporting companies who want to reach beyond the New Brunswick borders. So whether that's across Canada or whether that's international, we provide support for that. So for example, there are quite a bit of exports that goes to a number of different countries, whether that's in Asia, China, South Korea, and Japan, European countries, Netherlands, Belgium, Spain, and France. Those are some examples of where we've focused some efforts and increase support for companies to export. Of course, the US market remains a big international market for us, and Canada. When we bring it down, to this level, a lot of support is provided for small companies to scale and grow, to move from farmers market to independent grocer to retail, and eventually exports. Some of our key sectors, we know that New Brunswick is, I missed one. Improving the self-sufficiency in New Brunswick, that of course is a key priority. So we know that vegetables, excluding potatoes, represent one of the largest gaps between what the province produces and consumes. So in 2021, there was an exercise where we found out only 10% of New Brunswick production when it comes to vegetables are self-sufficient. So there's been some money placed towards increasing more vegetable producers, as well as increasing more fruit producers in the province. So there's quite a bit of support around that. So coming to our key sectors, we're known for potatoes, our blueberries, our cranberries, our apple, maple, grains, and oilseeds. Also on the livestock side of things, we're big with dairy, raising cattle, sheep, goats, hogs, poultry, and eggs. Those are some of our key priorities. Sectors in the capital region, there's quite a bit of companies. I would say in the apple sector, we have some cranberry, we have a few companies that dabble in beef. A majority is, fruits and vegetables. So the majority of the companies are small, and the focus is fruits and vegetables. And also, of course, we are known for a lot of the craft breweries that are there, and we do provide support for those type of companies. So in terms of financial support for clients, we have a robust program, whether that's through grants or loans. So in 2022, there was a sustainable Canadian Agricultural Partnership that was signed. It's a federal, provincial, territorial cost shared agreement that helps to strengthen companies' competitiveness, the sustainability and innovation and resiliency of agriculture, agri-food, beverage, and other agri-based product sectors. So basically, that was a mouthful, but we want to build a sector capacity and grow its competitiveness. We want companies to be aware of, how they can minimize the impact as it relates to climate change and environment. There's support for, science and innovation projects. And of course, support for Indigenous agriculture in terms of, with this segment of the population, we want to see more Indigenous entrepreneurs coming in. So we do have some special supports. And of course, building public trust, whether that's in food safety, etc. So there are a variety of programs, whether that's a business-based management program, agri-assurance, agri-stability. If we
No, it's okay. It was the only way, like I had to keep testing. And
all right. If we bring it down one level as it relates to entrepreneurs, we support business plan development, new product development, food safety certification, website development, succession planning is, of course, a big thing. So we provide support for that. So the SCAP program is one of the most robust grant programs that there is in the province, supporting the agricultural sectors. Of course, we provide loans and loan guarantees for our clients as well. And just to repeat, the support goes to producers, agribusinesses, processors, associations, and of course, Indigenous peoples. So opportunities for collaboration, a few examples of companies we work with in this region: Yerxa Meats, Connell Farms, Coburn Farms, Earth to Belly Homestead, Laughing Apple Farms, Dumfries Maple. So these are companies we've worked closely with them to support them in the development as they scale and grow. Other companies on the value-added side of things, we have, startups or long-term companies. There's Floco Kombucha, First Light Distillery, Saltwinds Coffee Company, Curious Foods, Work Water, OG Ales, Jenner's Dessert Tree, and of course, Spingbrook Cranberry, which is a long-time company. So these are just a few examples of companies that we've worked with. Now, a lot of our work, we don't do that in silos. So within our department, we work across departments. So a client comes in through the business growth office, then, I elevate that up to the crop development sector or to a technical specialist. If it's R&D related, it goes to the R&D specialist. And then any other type of inquiries that companies need, we connect them to partners. So there's a large ecosystem of folks that we work with, whether that's Farm Credit Canada, NRC, ONB, CCNB, BDC, CBDC Southwest, Agriculture, Agri-Food Canada, and of course, Ignite on the local level, and the various associations, so various industry associations. So we work with a lot of partners to help clients and to fill their questions. So that's it. I know I went very quickly through this presentation. It's my first online one. But I hope that it gives a bit of background in terms of some of the support that we provide. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Can you tell us where you would apply for any of these grants or loans or any of that? Would they just contact what's the easiest way to, who should they contact, I guess? You're on mute.
I am on mute, yes.
There you go.
All right, so my contact information is right here.
Right.
But typically, you know, sometimes we have inquiries that that comes through the website, right? So the business growth website, there's a specific link for that, which I can drop into the chat here. So when companies have inquiries in the different regions, we have business growth officers who will fill those questions. Of course, there are many doors that folks can come into the department with, because sometimes something lands on the crop development or livestock development officer's desk and it's bounced over to our division. So the easiest way is to go to gnb.ca under the agricultural department. And then when you look at the list of programming, there, one can connect us through or reach out to me directly and I'll funnel you through to the appropriate persons.
We appreciate that, and I guess we'll open it up for questions. I think you're going to have to stop sharing your screen, so otherwise I can't see who's. There we go. Is there any questions? Anyone? Okay, John.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to Irenia. Irenia, thank you very much for the presentation. I think it was very informative. Just wondering, in terms of, you know, we were looking at the New Brunswick food crops that we develop, and how are we advancing on, you know, self-sustainability in terms of, are we able to produce enough to look after our own needs? Are we still importing a lot? Or is there a lot of export in some of those areas?
Wow, that's a good question. So I don't have all the answers to that question, but yes, the majority of the goods are exported. In the fruits and the vegetable side of things, that's where we are looking at and have been working at growing those sectors so that we're able to have more to provide on the domestic level.
And I think we're pretty strong in eggs and poultry, are we not? Are we still fairly strong and self-sufficient on that side of things?
Yes, we are.
Okay, is there any other questions? Okay, I guess I don't see any. So listen, I want to thank you for the presentation. It was very informative, and please feel free to stay and listen to our next presentation. You don't have to, but you're more than welcome to. So with that, I guess, Kim, you're up.
Thank you so much. And I think that we were going, yes, someone was going to share my presentation. So I've put together about 11 slides for today's presentation, just to give you an overview of the industry, big picture, New Brunswick picture. And then I have tried to bring some information together to the capital region as well. So with the overview that the information that I've put together, I wanted to give you a bit of a background about the Alliance, an overview of agriculture in the province, and then bringing that down to the capital region. A couple of initiatives that I think will be something that this group would be very interested to know about. And then the last one on workforce development, which is where my focus within the Alliance is, as I'm the workforce development coordinator. So there's several initiatives that we have underway, and I'll be speaking to that. So next slide. So the Agriculture Alliance is a non-for-profit organization. It represents farmers throughout the province, and we have about 900 members. There are about 1,800 farms in the province, so we have about 800, or half of them are members of our organization. In addition to doing policy and advocacy for farmers in the province, there are a number of programs that we deliver here to support the industry. One that Arenia made reference to, which is Agriculture in the Classroom. And that program is really targeted at K-12, and it's about awareness of agriculture. That program, I think, has been in place for a couple of years in New Brunswick, but in other parts of the country, it has had a long history of industry working with our K-12 on just awareness of food, where food comes from, but also looking at opportunities from either a development perspective as well as careers. The other program that we deliver to all farm operations is an environmental farm management planning, which any funding that farm enterprises are applying for need an environmental farm management plan in place. Those are developed to look at the operations and what measures are taken to operate in a sustainable manner. The program that I'm responsible for is workforce development and our shared workforce, and I will be talking about that a little bit further in detail. And we have, in 2020, there was a workforce development plan that had been developed for the province because of some of the challenges that people saw here in the province and what our future looks like with respect to our workforce. The other program that was launched last year is a mental health and farm safety, and it's in its second year. And certainly what people became very aware of during COVID was the isolation of farmers and this stress that farmers are under on a day-to-day basis and running their operations, and costs have gone up, and just maintaining a viable operation is a struggle for farms today. And then the other component of that would be farm safety. So there are resources now available for farmers that they can reach out if they are feeling stress, and just getting that workforce balance, life balance, is one of the areas that they're focused on. The other program that's developed or is being delivered by the Alliance is called the New Brunswick Living Lab. And that program came about as the requirements for farm operations to look at more sustainable practices and looking at soil sequestration and greenhouse gas emissions and reducing those. One of the major undertakings is that companies have made commitments to reduce emissions. And the emissions that we talk about in farming, 70% of them happen on the farm. So this program is really working with industry to develop best practices and demonstration on farms. And I think we have about 20 farm operations in the province that we're working with in various commodities to develop best practices. And I will get into that a bit on our digital agriculture and the importance of it. Next slide. So with this one, I just wanted to give you an overview of just the size of our agriculture industry that I think as New Brunswickers, one of the things that we have found here working in the Alliance is just the awareness of agriculture and the importance that it does contribute to our economy here in the province. Arenia had made reference to some of our major products that we're producing. In 2022, just in farm gate receipts, it was over $850 million. but those products end up being transformed into value-added products where we're shipping over $1 billion a year out of the province in value-added from the products that we're producing here in the province. And if you add in both the agriculture, agri-food, which is your value-added, and our beverage production, is that it represents 3.5% of the GDP here in the province. And in contrast to that, the forestry sector contributes 4.3. So it's one of the largest contributors to the GDP. We've had some preliminary work done that certainly suggests that we have significant opportunity to grow. And I'll be talking about that as well, what our plans are for articulating what that growth opportunity is, as well as what needs to be done to support it. The last thing that I would have to say is that with all of agriculture, it does contribute to our tax revenue, both at a provincial, federal level and at a municipal level. And I think the municipalities, there's about $44 million that is generated in tax revenue from agriculture that goes back directly into the municipalities. Next slide. Oh. I don't know, maybe, there we go. So this, I just wanted to give you an overview of the employment numbers. And these are what I would consider to be, you would have seen in the last slide that the overall employment is around, when you look at agri-food, which is your value add, like processing, like potatoes, and in the agriculture sector, is that we have about 11,000 people that are employed in the industry. These statistics relate directly to the agriculture operations, so it doesn't take into account our value add. And I've highlighted here, you'll see that there was around 5,600 people from the last census that was done that were working in the industry. But the numbers are there to give you some appreciation of that direct employment with agriculture in the region, in your regions. Next slide, please. So this one, I wanted to give you sort of an appreciation of what crops are being grown and the contribution that it's making to the province. So as you'll note here, York, Sunbury, and Queens County, there are close to 300 farms, 283 farms that would have reported on farm gate receipt, like they would have had sales from their operations. You also have a breakdown there of the land that is used in agriculture within each of the regions. And then it also identifies the number of basically your value added, where there is some type of processing being done with product in each of the counties. And I'm sorry that I couldn't do it based on like your regions, but the closest thing that I could break it down to give some appreciation was based on the counties in which you're located in. And then again, I've provided the overall employment within your regions, which is both for value add and for the actual production. And I thought that you would find it of interest with each of the counties, the contribution from farming that is being made to the province. So as you can see in Queens County, honeybee colonies, within Queens County, it has 35%, and honeybees are extremely important for pollination. Those bees travel around the province throughout the pollination season, so they're really important. 18% of the apples that are produced in the province are coming from Queens County. And I found it quite interesting that the tomatoes were over 25% of what was being produced in the province was in Queens County. And as you go down through with York County, apples would be a major part of the production, the most significant, and our small fruit being raspberries and strawberries. In Sunbury County, we have cranberry operations, and I just can't see the bottom there.
I think Kim says 28% and beets in the province, cranberries.
Oh, right. There we go. 28%. So, which is, I thought it may be of interest for folks that it covers off those regions. If we could go to the next slide. And I will say for York County, it is also a major hub for the production of our poultry. Our egg production is in York County as well. So I didn't want to miss that in providing that information. So I made reference that there were a number of things when we look at agriculture and going forward, and certainly with the opportunities for growth, is that the Alliance is in the process right now of securing funding to actually have a growth plan developed for the province. We believe that there's significant opportunity for agriculture development in the province, and as high as 5% of our GDP is some of the numbers that we've been advised of as far as potential. So our intent is actually to define that opportunity, to have it defined, and to identify what are the requirements in order to advance the industry. So it really will become a blueprint and a roadmap for growth within the agriculture sector, which we think is a real great opportunity for the province of New Brunswick. The other part of our growth plan, and I had made reference to it, is that this past year we did basically an assessment of what the current state of digital technology is in the province. And it has been identified in numerous reports that have come out that it is transforming has the opportunity to transform the industry, but really looking at the application of those digital technologies in enhancing productivity, environmental sustainability, and for reporting. As you look at the value chain, and when I talked about the work that we were doing with our living labs, is that the consumer is demanding that industry be operating in a sustainable manner. And most of the major companies like McDonald's, like everything that our products are going to, are looking at that reduction in carbon emissions. And as I said, 75% of it is behind the farm. So part of the work that we're doing and that falls under this digital strategy is actually developing the tools for industry to be tracking and being able to provide science-based information on those reductions that they're making, and to be able to demonstrate that they are operating in a sustainable manner. The other thing with digital technology is that it really does provide farmers with better information in order to make better decisions on the use of their lands and even in application of product. And when they should be, like if there's spraying or that needs to be done, is being able to isolate it to areas that only need it. And then we also know that there are probably areas on farms that are just not supportive of farming in any way. So it's looking at conservation use of those lands. So all of that, the platform for digital technology is really enabling industry to move in that direction. So we're in the process right now. We did the initial report to have an as-is state here in the province. And part of the recommendations, there were several, but one was to move forward with the development of a strategy that would identify what should be done in order to advance the use of digital technology here in the province and to have New Brunswick to be a leader in the area. The other components of it related to just general awareness of agriculture and on the workforce. In the skills that are required in utilization of new technology is upskilling existing farm operations, but looking to the future and making kids aware of what those opportunities are in agriculture. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about workforce development in the area that I do spend a lot of time in. There were several things that happened. One, I'll just start. I know I made reference to 5,500. That was from, I think, 2022 census. But if you look at the number of people that are employed in agriculture, is that 1 out of every 3 people that work in agriculture today are over the age of 55. In 2023, RBC released a report that highlighted the significance of this, because we're essentially talking about over the next decade, a 40% turnover of individuals that are working in agriculture will be exiting. And it's the largest change in ownership and management of our farm operations that Canada has ever experienced to date. So we've got that challenges that we're facing, as well as with a tightening labor market, our industry relies on a seasonal workforce, and farms have struggled, farm enterprises, in finding seasonal work. So that was the other area that was identified as a major issue for industry. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we do in 2020, the Alliance actually was forward thinking and recognizing the significance of this issue. And we had a strategy developed, and there's 5 areas of focus that we are working on. One is addressing the seasonal workforce, attracting new farmers to the province, which we really have not done a lot on that side of it, because with all the work that we're doing we're limited by resources we have available. So we've really tried to focus on where we can make the most meaningful impact. Promoting agricultural careers, training, and then tracking just the labor market and what is happening. There is also a federal strategy, and what I would suggest their pillars are similar to ours, with the exception that they've noted the importance of automation and technology in addressing our labor requirements for the future. Next slide, please. So I wanted to be able to let you know of several things that we are doing here in the province and working for farm operations, is that we launched last July what we call a shared workforce program. And essentially what that has been is a recruitment of job seekers and matching those with agriculture and agri-food enterprises that are looking for seasonal workers. Our target last year was to recruit 10 people to work for industry and have 5 operations. We ended up recruiting, I think, over 40 people, and we provided support for 10 operations. This year, our focus is on recruiting 200 job seekers and working with 40 operations in the province, and we're well on our way to do that. Our recruitment, we've recruited 200 people already that are interested in working. And as of today, we do have 40 operations that we are working with. And again, it's a matching service, so that if a farm operation identifies that they require seasonal work, then we look at our recruitment to see about matching them up with the individuals. And that has involved working with many partners. both within government and non-for-profit organizations as well in doing this work. The other thing that we do have is we have a job bank in which companies can post their jobs. And when we do any type of recruitment or going to job fairs, is an area that we will recommend that people go to see what jobs are available in agriculture. And part of that is just marketing it and making people aware that it's there for their use and their benefit. And the last major area this year that we are working on is a workforce pipeline. And again, it goes back when building upon what we've been doing with Ag in the Classroom, is really having a focus working with the Department of Education and looking at experiential learning opportunities. So we have the MBTAP program, which is a trade, is for the trades. And so it's really looking at giving kids who are in the trades related to agriculture, such as heavy equipment, working with heavy equipment, the opportunity to work on farm equipment would be one example. And then the other thing that happened this past year is that the Anglophone section of the Department of Education introduced an Ag 11 course. And that course was delivered in 20 schools this past year in the Anglophone schools. And we had over 400 kids that actually took the course. So we know that there are kids that are interested in agriculture. So our focus now is looking at what can we do to provide them with experiential learning opportunities. So giving them, firsthand experience in working with the industry. The other thing that we've been doing is we've actually, this past year, have been working with UMB, who really hasn't had a presence in agriculture. And they've just announced that they are going to have a new chair of digital agriculture in place. And we are working with the engineering departments and some of the other departments on working with industry with some applied research that they're doing for farm operations. So a really great move in the right direction of having the university involved. The other thing that we've been working with is CCMB and MBCC on micro-credential courses, which are basically short training courses for agriculture. And there's been a number of those offered over the last several years. But one of the major areas that we're working on right now with them is MBCC is going to be launching in 2025 their 2-year agriculture program again. So it provides a pipeline. So if we build interest with the kids in the schools, is that they have an opportunity for post-secondary training, or even with the school coming out and going to work in the industry. So it will be an area that we continue to focus on in the coming years for sure, in working with our partners. And I think the last slide is just to thank you for this opportunity. And certainly if there was any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. And my information is there to contact me as well.
Well, thank you very much. That was very informative. And I guess we'll ask for questions. Paul? I think you're on mute, Paul.
There we go. Sorry.
Better.
You talk about the hundreds of millions that we produce and export. What is the trade balance in terms of food? In other words, is there any sense of how much Brunswickers spend on food and imports?
So that's a really good question. And I have seen some statistics on it that had been done. And I will try to dig those out and get them to you. I'll send them to John to circulate. But as far as our overall production is that we have a surplus as far as what we're exporting versus what is brought into the province as far as food, is my understanding.
Okay. Greg?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much for this presentation. There's so much great information in here. I'm interested going forward on the growth plan that you mentioned, and maybe either participating in the process, because the city has an interest in urban agriculture versus rural agriculture and community gardens and a lot of these kind of things. And just for my own benefit, I'd like to be able to situate where these issues are relative to your mandate.
Right.
And this can all wait for a later date. I don't want to ambush anyone with questions, of a very specific nature, in the first time we're kind of coming to the table. But it's, I think, also important in light of, UMB's new chair in digital agriculture. I mean, this is an exciting topic as well. So anyway, any more you could share about when the growth plan's going to be delivered, or if it's still possible to participate in it as a stakeholder?
So where we are with that, so one, I'm probably further advanced in moving forward with our digital strategy because I have funding and proposal ready to go on that. So it's certainly, if that's something that you're interested in staying in tune with, I can certainly ensure that you're part of the engagement process or this group. With the growth plan, it hasn't been launched yet. We are still waiting for funding on it. And I know that the stakeholder engagement is extensive. Obviously, we'll have an industry focus, but even today, in preparing for this meeting, the municipalities are a major part of that. So I will be going back to Anna just to see how we build that in to keep you folks engaged on it, because you're almost more than a stakeholder in the sense that you also are a regulatory body as well. So I think it's important that engagement be done and we see where those opportunities are. What I can tell you is that I know we have over 1 million acres in land that was used for agriculture that is no longer being used. So even if we were to develop the lands that were there in the past, we could really go a long ways.
Right. Excellent point. Thank you very much. And Mr. Chair, with your permission, I think we need to loop all our representatives at Ignite, into the presentation of this growth plan when it's available as well.
Yep, absolutely. And I thought I seen David. Did you have a question? I thought I seen your hand up.
I did, but Kim answered it, so thank you.
Wonderful.
It's Irene here. I just wanted to say, given that the type of questioning is more statistically focused, perhaps there's another opportunity for a presentation from the Department of Agriculture with that particular contact that can provide you with more information, on the specifics, on the stats, etc. Okay.
Wonderful. And maybe John, you guys could put that together for us. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can certainly have another presentation. And Mr. Chair, I'll take this opportunity, if you don't mind. I had my hand up, if that's okay, if I jump in there.
Certainly.
Kim, I was just wondering in terms of this, because one of the things that we're responsible for in many of the rural areas is looking at our planning and development. And we talked about land that was there and trying to replace land. Is the biggest threat right now in agriculture development is the development itself of the land, in terms of lands being developed for housing or more urban processes, or is it climate change, or is it kind of both, or maybe a little bit more? Just like a little your insight on that.
I think it's a combination of everything, John. I think that I guess one of the things that I would say, especially with the rural areas, is that placing an agriculture lens on lands and their suitability for agriculture is if the areas, and there is a map now by the province that shows lands that are really suitable for agriculture. And I suspect that if we could go back and ask, even on the lands that have been previously used, is if there's other uses that are being considered, is to contemplate, is that the best utilization of that area if it could be put into production? So that would be one thing that I would suggest. The other thing, I think you asked about like climate change and availability. There are things that are happening because of climate change that farmers are having to adjust to. So like even looking at irrigation, which we probably in some areas, we didn't have to do irrigation in the past. It may be something in the future that our farm operations may need to be considering. So I think that it's important that you folks know where there are opportunities and is it the best utilization of lands when you're looking at rezoning. And the other thing would be to become aware of what the needs of the industry are that are operating within the various regions or municipalities, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Danielle.
Yes, thank you, everyone. I'll keep my video off because rural internet is the pits. But as a farmer, I just kind of wanted to voice my, just that I wanted everyone at the commission level to know that New Brunswick farmers are the lowest subsidized in the country. And it's not by a little bit, it's by a lot. It's extremely difficult for us little guys to participate in a lot of programs because none of it is money up front. It's all based on having money in the bank to spend on a project and then submitting and getting a refund, which is fabulous. But the barrier for small farmers is it might as well be $1 million. So that's one thing. I'd like to mention the David Campbell report and how incredibly critical that is for all of you to be aware of and to read and digest. I'd like to highlight that fostering more high growth potential farmers is huge because there's a lot of us who, if you, if we had a small cash injection, we could quadruple our outcome and, quadruple our revenue within, less than a year. It's kind of a no-brainer. If we don't get an injection to farmers soon, there'll be nothing but ghost land, ghost towns. It will be very difficult to bring this land back. So the clock is ticking. We're kind of at 11:58, I might say. So action, it's time for action now, speaking on behalf of farmers. A lot of us are on the brink and we have been for a long time, but we're doing what we love and we're feeding our families and our neighbors and we're not going to stop. But it's very, 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 very difficult and very stressful. And I'm so excited to be invited to this meeting. So from the farming community to the Regional Service Commission, thank you for making this a priority and please continue to consult with us. We will give meaningful feedback at every opportunity. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that, Danielle. And as a non-farmer, I truly appreciate your efforts. So, John, is your hand back up again?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question to Kim and Danielle and Irene in terms of, I know the province had undertaken to expand the internet service into the rural areas quite heavily. But I'm just wondering, are you still finding, Danielle mentioned it in her comments, difficult, especially if we're going with a digital strategy and we're trying to be more connected and we're trying to, those investments, because if I remember correctly, I worked on part of the project. I think the first phase of the rollout should have already happened. We'd be in phase 2 of trying to connect many of the rural areas. And I know there's gaps, but I'm just wondering, are you hearing that all from all of your members or other farmers, or are you, what are you hearing on that? Because it's very important to be able to market in every aspect of business today. If you're not connected, you're not really doing business.
So John, from the Digital Agriculture Report, and I can share that with you folks, is that was one of the areas that has been highlighted, is that we still don't have coverage. And as we move to using more digital technology, it even becomes more important. And I do want to back to Danielle's comments when she thank you so much for those comments, Danielle, because that is what was driving us moving forward with the growth plan was David Campbell's report, and is to actually address some of the issues that you've talked about within our growth plan. I think that if there's any support that we can get from the municipalities with the provincial government to advance the growth plan, I think would be very much helpful at this point, because we have things that we are ready to go with and we're just waiting for funding.
Right. On the speaking of somebody with crappy rural internet, I will tell you that I gave up and I went to the Elon Musk platform, and it's wonderful. It's like night and day. So just if that helps or not. Is there any other questions?
Mr. Chair, if I might,
Yeah.
I apologize. I don't mean to keep jumping in, but
No, please.
my mind races as things happen.
Right.
So, Kim, to you and Danielle and Irene, I hope, so just so that you know, we have David Campbell working with our Economic Development Agency, which is Ignite, to develop the Vision 2030 strategy for the Capital Region service, or the Capital Region, I guess. And we're working together with all of our partners to develop that. And one of the things that we're expecting out of that, and I've had conversations with David on that, is the importance of agriculture and agricultural development in our region. So I want you to know that it is on our agenda, and we're actually going to chat about that under some under some other updates here later in the meeting. So anyway.
Well, John, thank you for that. And I'm glad to hear that because David is part of the group that's will be working on our growth plan as well. So, you know, there's synergies that are happening here. And if we could move that forward, it would be a major step in the right direction.
And I just wanted to say also thank you for making that comment as well. You know, with the Department of Agriculture, hearing the voice of the farmer and working closely with the farmers, what we're good at. We are the department that has worked and partnered with agricultural companies for several years. And I can tell you there are, you know, employees who are working hands in glove with companies to help them to grow and scale. So the money is there. You know, for some, they're able to take advantage of it fully as they grow at different scales. And for others, we know that, you know, when there's an economic downturn, then things don't go as well, right? And revenue generation from a company can, you know, dip a bit. And that's challenging when you have the risk shared program. But we know that when companies have skin in the game, when they're able to provide some money of their own to show that they're willing to invest to grow and scale their business, those work the best because there's commitment on our side to support companies, and then the companies themselves are also invested. And, you know, we recognize and all of our clients, and we work hard to help them, right? Market forces typically changes everything, which is out of our realm of control. And also we know that with agriculture, climate is a big thing. If, you know, one year you may have a great crop and another year you may not have a great crop, right? So I just want to leave this message. We're open to listen. We're open to partnership. We love that, you know, the municipalities have invited us to the meeting. There's opportunity for further conversations. I know that there are much smarter people at the Department of Agriculture, because I've only been with the department for 4 years, and there are collectively many people there who've been working with the sector for over 25 years or more. So I definitely invite you to invite us back to the table. You know, I've take note of all of the different questions, and to make sure that when we come back, we are more prepared.
Well, we appreciate you coming and giving the presentation, and we sympathize with the farmers, and when they have a down crop or whatever, that's when they need the help the most, I would assume, and that we love our farmers because that's what helps us eat. So
yes,
I appreciate it. So okay, if there's no further questions, I think we have a riveting section on the budget coming up that John will be presenting. So is that right, John?
That's right. So to our guests, you're more than welcome to stay. All of our meetings, our committee meetings and our board meetings are broadcast for complete transparency to the staff, the RSC. I want to thank Lonnie and his team, Melinda and Raghav, for being on here today. Kim, Irenia, they're our planners. Lonnie oversees all of this whole section on development. And I wanted them to see this firsthand to get that flavor for what we're looking at here. And we'll definitely, as the chair has said, we'll make room to bring you back and have you on the agenda again as things progress as we go through in the next phases. So feel free to stay, or you can consider yourself free. So
thank you.
Thank you. And I will be taking back to Anna on how we engage with the commissions on the growth plan, because I think that is going to be really important as a stakeholder.
Great. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, through you to the members on today, there's two things, Mr. Chair, if you'll indulge me on. Well, actually three, but I'll try to wrap them up quick because I know everybody's starting to get fidgety at supper time and things like that. But just one thing for our next meeting, if it would be the pleasure of this committee. As I said at the July 26th forum, I've been following up with the New Brunswick Infrastructure Institute, in particularly Dr. Anna Roback from UNB. And she would like to come in and talk to our committee and maybe present to the committee about what's happening from an infrastructure side of things in the province. They've had some initial meetings, but now they're trying to form a strategy around how to make this work. And what they're looking to do is develop a comprehensive infrastructure plan for the province, not just for the capital region, but for the province, and try to bring all players together. They'd like to start small by coming to the, in terms of the region, trying to bring our partners together and have a conversation, but using our contacts to help reach out to all of the regional service commissions across the province. I've already reached out to the CEO group to ask to have her present to them as well. But I think it would be a worthwhile conversation in September to have her here. This is not just about the physical infrastructure. This is about our virtual infrastructure, our electronic infrastructure, literally right across the board on how do we do infrastructure differently. I noticed yesterday, Don and I were talking earlier as I was with our other colleagues in the office. Yesterday, the FCM, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and the Ontario Municipal Association were talking all about the challenges around climate change, infrastructure, but they're talking about much more than just the aging infrastructure under the ground. They're talking about everything, and we're talking cyber, we're talking virtual, we're talking, we're talking the physical under the ground, the water and sewage. We're talking about highways, bridges, all of our constructs around. And what they're looking for is somewhere, I believe, the way I understood the presentations that are and the conversations that we had, they're looking for someone to help champion this idea, this concept of looking at it in a more global fashion, so that when the province, when the federal government, when municipalities, when the regions are looking at infrastructure, how do we bring that forward comprehensively together and use that and be a leader in Canada, so we're not fighting over the same dollars. If there's a program, we're not all applying and trying to get the same dollars. We're not competing with one another in the region. We're supporting one another in the region, and we're trying to build our infrastructure based on informed data, so that we're making data-driven decisions. They've already met with a host of the current, the government officials, primarily deputy ministers and assistant deputy ministers. I guess a couple of ministers had joined for a brief period, but they're looking at having something here in the capital with our support, but they'd like to make sure that we're on board and understand their project as well. So if that's something that the committee is interested in, we would do that at the next committee meeting in September, if that was open to that. So, Mr. Chair, I'll leave that in your hands to seek consensus of the committee.
All right. So based on what John said, are we in favor of having that presentation in September, or is it September, John, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, in September.
I would be supportive of it, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Yeah, I would too, for sure.
Yeah. So
it makes a lot of sense when you consider the population of the province is not that of a major North American city. To John's point, we don't want to be chasing your tail.
Wonderful. It sounds like we are in support of that. There's no official requirement or a vote, or we can just go ahead and have you organize that, or ask you to get that organized?
Yes, and we just kind of need a consensus on that, and I think we saw most of the heads nodding up and down. So, if there's any dissenting opinions, I'd certainly like to hear those as well, if there's anything on that. But I didn't hear anything. So
yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, just on the budget update, just so that you know what we looked at. So I'm glad I'm feeling good about this next part. In the budget, we've requested, and the chair knew this. This was based on our conversation back in June about what do we want to see moving forward, and primarily it was all around agriculture, on the economic side, or in terms of this. So what we were looking at there is we've asked for $15,000 to be put into the budget for economic expansion, and we can leverage that against the Regional Services Support Fund to leverage $30,000 in total. Where that came from was I asked David Campbell, who's working on our Vision 2030 study, what would be an appropriate amount of funding to have on board. So as you heard today, we've got their strategy, we got our vision, we've got pieces that are all floating, and that what will be required is probably sometime around September, October, is what do those next steps look like, leading into 2025. So this is a 2025 budget, but what does that look like moving forward to develop those next steps? How do we implement what we're hearing? How do we bring it all together? So I just wanted you to know and inform you. I know that some of the directors on the call here today, I think all of them are on the finance committee. So anyway, they were there, they heard that. And on the tourism side, if I could flip my other hat, there was also 15,000 put in there because there was a lot of dialogue, if you recall, at the meetings of looking at some better a deeper dive of data. It's not necessarily that we'll use it. I know that Capital Region Tourism is trying very hard to geofence some areas. It's in their strategic plan this year to give us more localized or more sub-regional data, if you will. But we were looking at ways to improve how we understand that data and what we were looking at. So I did put 15,000 in there, and the chair knew that this was going in. So we put in 15,000 on that side to leverage 30. If we don't use it, it'll come in the form of a second previous year surplus in years forward. But if we do need to do that work and we want to pursue some of that work, or it could be another piece of work that's related to tourism, we would have a small amount of money set aside for that. So I wanted to inform the board, inform the committee on that. There was a bit of questions, make sure it's directly targeted, things like that in terms of the comments. But, it's always, I don't know, I guess it's always good to have at least a little bit of something there to do some work. And it's not to say that if the agriculture piece got bigger, that we couldn't shift some of that tourism piece over to it. It's all under the one committee, but those were the two streams that we were looking at. And those came based on other studies that we had done, and where did we find those. And so when you're doing data collection, those can range anywhere from, 5,000-6,000 to 50,000-60,000. So it seemed 15,000 to be raised through our membership, and then 15,000 would be matching dollars from the province. So there'd be no money unspent unless we all agree at this particular table.
Right.
Sorry, unless all of you agree and you let me know.
Right. No, I think we got that.
Yeah.
I think if you don't have anything, I guess we talked about this many times. If you have no budget at all, then we really cannot do anything further than what we're doing. And this will make it so that if we do have to put that agriculture piece together, or if there's a tourism part, that we will, we won't run a deficit. We'll run to our budget. Okay.
Questions or concerns that anyone has to raise? Or
oh, looks like we're good.
Okay, that was just purely a PSA and a public service announcement information, and I was hoping for a positive review. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Well, I guess if there's nothing further, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Sheridan, I'll move to adjourn.
Seconder?
I can second, Susan.
I guess we're adjourned.
See you guys next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.